Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today. This is webinar Wednesday number 308. My name is Maureen Buscher-Dang. I'm your guest host today. I'm one of the consultants here at the Small Business Development Center at CSU Bakersfield. I'm the lead marketing consultant. And oftentimes I'm usually the producer in the background who's putting all of the assets and links and so forth to information in the chat while Kelly's the host. But today, Kelly will be our guest speaker on the state of small business. So let's get rolling. So what's up today? Well, as I said, Kelly's going to be talking about the state of small business in the three counties that we service, the Kern, Inyo, and Mono counties. Among the other things he's going to cover will be opportunities for small businesses. You will not want to miss that. Always your questions, just put them in the Q&A box today and they will be answered live. And any of the resources should be in the chat box. And a poll, well, maybe not. We'll see. That'll be on Kelly's plate this afternoon. Okay, so to qualify for 80% ERC Amnesty, the primary thing that is the most important thing here is that you must notify the IRS by March 22nd. I know that sounds like it's around the corner, but it'll be here before any of us know it. So that's the primary thing to keep in mind. I know Kelly will go over that at a later time. Let's move on to our community calendar. So our first thing here is the power pitch for the Women's Business Conference. They have extended their deadline to February 9th. It's just a couple of days from now. And basically what that is if you are a woman-owned business and you want to make a pitch, then you have up until February 9th to put in for that. You can go to the website that we have listed here. It'll also be in the timestamps on YouTube, and you can apply. Also, the Indian Wells Valley Economic Outlook Conference, which is a great venue. It's been going on for quite a long time, and I know a lot of people who attend it, is February 22nd. If you want to register for tickets, you can either call or email the Ridgecrest Chamber of Commerce. Now, this is another one I think a lot of people will be interested in, and it's an SBDC regional series on social media. They will be on Tuesday afternoons in February and March. Some of them will be about 2 hours, and they'll be from 11:30 to 1. What I did put in here is that the 6 sessions, you can see here what they incorporate. Some of these, it depends on what your skill level is and what you know, but on our website, we will have more detailed information on each of these 6 sessions. But this is just to give you an idea, basically the 101, branding, leveraging videos, which is important if you don't know how to use videos, advertising on a budget, best practices, and measuring your success with analytics. So those are all really important things to know for if you're a small business. Anyway, look for that on our website, and we hope you can join us. It's a free series of webinars, and I was speaking with one of our folks up in the region today, and do not worry if you can't make all of those and you want to get them on demand. They will be available on demand, or if you don't sign up until later, you will have access to that. Okay, the Bakersfield Food Service Management Program is still going on. Although I think it's going to be wrapping up pretty soon. They have grant funds that range between $5,000 and $10,000. You know, if you want more information, there's a QR code there that you can access to get more information on it. I do think we also probably have something still on our website about it. And if you want to run a home daycare business, Nurture let us know this week that they're going to be starting up a new course on Thursday, February 22nd. It's a 12-week course. They have $1,000 startup grants, and they have classes in both English and Spanish. You can either contact us here at the SBDC, or you can text Nurture Coach at that phone number and text Learn More, and they will be happy to help you. Please don't miss our CSUB SBDC YouTube channel. As of today, I think we were pretty close to 300. It should be nice to hit that mark pretty soon here, but we have a a wide variety of resources there, close to, well, we're getting close to 300 videos. I want to see that many on the videos too, but there's a wealth of information there if you check us out. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Normally when we publish the weekly webinar, you'll get notification that it's freshly up there. If you're an employer who needs and who doesn't usually, you've got employees, human resources hotline. The Central Valley counties have partnered with the California Employers Association to provide help for employers at no cost. Depending on the county you're in, there's a whole list there of the counties where you can call the hotline and they will be able to and be happy to assist you if you are an employer. The next up is in March, we're going to be doing a 5-part series live via Zoom with Michael Balstead on selling your business. It's going to be something new that we're doing. It's ultra premium content. It's going to be $99 for the series. And we'll have more coming on upcoming webinars, and as well as I'll be putting that on the website pretty soon. But Michael Balstead will be the person who's handling that. He's a certified exit planning advisor. And we also have past webinars where he's talked about, trying to buy or sell a business and planning your exit. You won't want to miss that if that's something that's that you're considering at this point. You can see what kind of tools that the SBDC has for your business. Among the features that we have is our YouTube channel, like we talked about. Live Plan, we've got several of our clients who use Live Plan. It's good for business planning. They're very comprehensive. They've got everything from all the financials to marketing to you name it in there. And it's one where you work with one of our consultants, and it's a very robust plan to work with. We have a resident economist, Dr. Mark Evans, who comes every other week or so. Kelly has a cash flow forecast that a lot of our clients get to use. It's ready to go in Excel and has been very helpful. The Clayton Leadership Transition Plan, you're not going to find anything better than that if you're really seriously considering, passing your business on to, your employees or to family. It's very well thought out by the Clayton family, and our clients have access to that. And then sbdcnet.org is where we have research. We can do all kinds of comprehensive research that are, when you work with our consultants, that will be useful for your business. Everything from competitive information, you name it. If you can think up what you would like, pretty much we can find it. And then last but not least, we'd love feedback on today's webinar. If you have any serious concerns, contact Kelly via email so that we can handle it right away. Also, if you would be, if you enjoyed today and you have some good feedback for that, if you would give us a review on Google, that would be great. We would love to have that. And we do appreciate you joining us today. Today's special guest, and here we are. Look at that picture. Kelly Bearden has over 20 years of experience in directing small business development centers, known as SBDCs, in the Central California area. The past 11 have been with the CSU Bakersfield SBDC. His team thrives in assisting entrepreneurs through advising and training them to reach their full potential, assisting with funding, executing their specific plans, and much more. He hosts Webinar Wednesday Business Training Program, and we have a fun time doing it, I will tell you that. He spent a decade self-employed in a consulting firm that offers solutions to small businesses and their communities. He has worked directly with several thousand small businesses over the years. He farms wine grapes in the Sierra Nevada foothills in his spare time. He is a graduate of California State University, Chico. Please welcome Kelly Bearden.
Well, thank you, Maureen. It's great to be on this side of the mic for a change, actually being introduced, then doing the introducing. It's a great opportunity for me to actually be the guest speaker instead of the host for a change. So I hope you're all ready. I know I am. So we're going to be doing today a little bit on the state of small business. And the state of small business, not only in the 3 counties of Kern, Inyo, and Mono, but also throughout Central California. And we'll also compare to what's going on nationally and maybe regionally as well, as far as the state of California. So let's get back to our slide presentation, and we'll share that and move right along. So today what we're going to do is we're going to go through a lot of the local issues that are affecting small businesses. We do have a lot of local concerns, a lot of things that are happening that have been lingering over the last few years. After that, we're going to jump into some of the national small business concerns. I think many of you that have been on the webinar over the years have noticed that we take a big interest in what is going on nationally, especially with the surveying and the polls that are going on. And we like to then compare them locally to see what is happening nationally and what's happening in our market. So we're going to look at some of the information, the latest data that we have that's come out and been surveyed from small businesses on more of a national level. Today, we're going to definitely talk about opportunity. And I think that that is a key thing moving forward. There's so much opportunity. There's so much things going on, so many possibilities. So we're going to be looking at opportunities that are available to many of the small businesses. And we're going to look at the good in small business, the good that is happening, the ones that are making a difference in their communities, the projects that are happening that are successful and are unique and different. And like I like to say in 2024, let's party like it's 2019. Yeah, we did go through a pandemic in 2020. And then we nicely followed that up with some economic turmoil. We had hiring issues and we had disruptions in our supply chain and inflation, the threat of recession, a lot of things going on in the economy. And then to compound that, let's have Mother Nature throw a big dose of 2023 on us. And Mother Nature definitely did that. So a lot of weather issues and disasters and other things that slowed down 2023. But let's turn the clock back 5 years and let's party like it's 2019. So with that, in 2020, we did have a lot going on with the recession and some of the issues with what happened as far as pandemic relief and some of the other concerns, and have really made a difference for a lot of small businesses. We found that pre-pandemic, we were basically at 100% and things were clipping right along, everything going well. And then all of a sudden we hit this pandemic and we're shuttered at home and we can't get out and we can't get to our customers and everything like that. Fortunately for us, we had pandemic relief programs, several of them that actually benefited and kept many small businesses surviving. We lost a lot of small businesses. We saw a lot of small businesses start during the pandemic, records amount in 2020. And continuing into 2021, continuing to find that individuals were leaving larger companies and wanting to be entrepreneurs and start their own business. So that was some of the big trends that were happening in the last 5 years since we were partying in 2019. So moving into out of 2019, some information we disclosed recently on a webinar, but I think it's worth bringing into today, is bringing it up and using it as a springboard into today, is that this is basically the statistics of communities in North America that actually have 66 in all that have been measured about how they were before the pandemic at 100% and where they are now. And this is pretty much their downtowns. We haven't talked on Webinar Wednesday a lot about, a lot of the things going on with bigger companies that affect small businesses in their downtown core. Many small businesses had employees that were starting to work remote and went to other locations, maybe rural, maybe halfway across the country, maybe halfway across the globe, and were still able to perform their jobs and function. But what did that do for the small business community that they left behind in their downtowns? So this was vitally important as far as a survey and a study. In here, we have the top 20 of 66. And it's important to note that here in downtown Bakersfield, 95% of the activity before the pandemic has returned. And that's important to our local downtown restaurants, to our shops, to our retail core, to many of the other businesses that really depend on a vibrant and healthy downtown. You'll see that probably surprises nobody that Las Vegas, which will be a busy place for the next week with Super Bowl 58 coming up on Sunday. But Las Vegas is bigger and has grown. It is now 103%. Like I said, Bakersfield is number 4. San Jose is the number 1 city in California at 96%. And then moving down, you'll see a lot of other jurisdictions, some in the Southwest, many throughout the West. We see Milwaukee and Atlanta, 15 and 16, and Los Angeles comes in at 20. The very bottom of this list, we find a lot of the towns in the Midwest. You'll see at the very bottom, number 66 being St. Louis, Missouri. Surprising that their downtown is less than 60% of what it was before, as far as revenues and their basically gross domestic downtown product. So that is kind of fascinating. And you get into other areas in the Midwest, such as Detroit and Chicago was pretty low. So you really see Milwaukee at number 15 jumping up and really being the community that has bounced back the quickest since the pandemic. So we talked about a lot of the problems that have happened since 2019, which brings us to our state of small business here in 2024. And this is a picture I really like to show a lot of, and we had lots of it displayed in 2023. This picture was probably taken about a month to 6 weeks after the peak snowfalls in March of 2023. You'll see the little sign there, White Wolf Ranger Station. This previously, many years ago, was the actual White Wolf Stables, which was run by the contractor out of Yosemite National Park. And now you find stables up at Tuolumne Meadows and in Yosemite Valley. But before, there were other stables that were not only in White Wolf, but in Wawona and other areas. So out of White Wolf, which is an elevation of 8,000 feet, you can find it, basically a little toward the western side from between Yosemite and Lee Vining on the Eastern Sierra. But it is around 8,000 feet. And wow, that eave must have gone up 20 feet. Nice stovepipe coming out of it. So it really shows you the amount of snow that is on there and that accumulated on that roof. But really, for me, it really demonstrated the impact that our weather had on our small businesses in 2023, contributing to supply chain items and a variety of other factors that impacted small businesses as we worked our way through the pandemic. So one thing that we really wanted to talk about a little bit was, again, kind of the national look. And Goldman Sachs has a program they call 10,000 Small Businesses that they started a few years back. And this is their survey. So it's Goldman Sachs 10,000 Voices survey. And it was from just about a week ago when it was released. And so what happened was they surveyed a number of their 10,000 businesses and came back with a large sample size. A lot of these businesses are focused here in Southern California. So what we found is that optimism is coming back, and optimism regarding their small business finances, and expect profitability to increase. A total of 75% of small business owners are optimistic about their business finances this year. I think that's fantastic news. And 62% expect profitability to increase. Both very solid numbers. And what we find is when small businesses are optimistic, this is why this statistic is always kept. and it's always reported on. If small business owners are optimistic about their futures, they're willing to invest more in business to business and business to government activity. So we see a lot of that happening when you see high numbers that are optimistic about their futures. We then went on to 28% of small business owners that have a favorable view of the economy. And also nearly a corresponding 27% that had a negative view. So in this question, it was basically, do you have a favorable view, a negative view, or is it fair or in the middle? And really came back in the middle on this one. So you had over half of the people that either said that they had a favorable or they had a negative view, total of half over that, 55%. And then you had the remaining 44% that actually said the economy was, well, meh, somewhere in the middle. So that is a little bit surprising based on a lot of the economic news and the favorable trends. We went through a year of 2023 where we were seemingly getting an economic forecast of recession within the next 6 months, and we'd get that about every 6 months. So it happened twice in 23, probably happened once in 2022. So we had a period of time to where we had 3 6-month periods where recession was being forecast. And then we had inflation. We had the highest inflation in 40 years. And the one thing about inflation is once it happens, prices don't go down. That would be deflation, not good for the economy either, but prices go up, everything goes up and keeps pushing the ship up higher. So the economy had a lot of very variable factors in actually 2023, 2022, and going back to our last recession in 2020, that was just a short blip when the stay-at-home order was in place from the pandemic. I believe that was the first second quarter of the recession for 2020, and only lasted 1 quarter. Just a real small blip before things kicked in, like the pandemic relief programs, and made everything better. So the other thing that really is starting to improve now, and remember, this is a forecast from just a week ago. So this survey is really fresh. And so the other thing that really doesn't talk a lot about that we probably will a little later, and that is employment, and about how difficult it was for small businesses to find employees. And now it has seemingly got better, but still 27% with a negative view, 44% ranking the economy as fair. So that brings us to 71% of small business owners report that inflationary pressures on their business increased the last 3 months. Yes, the last 3 months. We were starting to get relief, and inflation had been dropping and had been dropping substantially. And then all of a sudden, in the last 3 months, the pressures are back. Now, I like to use the fried egg omelet example. So I have the fried egg example of that is my inflationary breadbasket. I will look at the store and see what the price of eggs are. Not a real scientific or fair, but I have noticed over the last couple months, they are rising again. Not anything near, or actually kind of near their peak of from about, sometime in 2023, maybe during the spring months, maybe early summer. But then also, so I can see some of the inflationary pressures coming back. And 33% last year, as labeling it the most challenging year to run a business since 2020. So a third of the businesses registered said, last year, 2023, much worse than 2021 or 2022, and those inflationary pressures. So it's good to get that view from Goldman Sachs and their 10,000 voices on what is happening at that particular point. You know, it is great that the pandemic is fading. Some of the issues caused by the pandemic, which could have been some of the economic, basically is not. So as we move on, so what are some of the local issues and challenges that we are starting to see? Well, whereas we just had some positive news on accessing capital, it still does remain an issue. Here at the CSU Bakersfield Small Business Development Center, we spent a good part of the last 18 months working on programs that actually were really benefiting some of our smallest and most vulnerable small businesses. 3 programs that we worked on were micro grant programs for $2,500 for those that did not receive that funding during the pandemic. We also have worked with the City of Bakersfield most recently on their grant program, their City of Bakersfield Entrepreneurship Grant Program that, as many of you know, provides grants of $5,000 to $40,000 to small businesses that are located within the city limits of Bakersfield. And we worked also with a program of assisting businesses start and actually helping them start off with $5,000 grants. We were able to work with about 43 businesses and have them funded through the California DreamWorks program. And so those are 3 programs that were kind of on the smaller side of things. And then having gone through a pandemic where about 100% of our businesses we worked with, we were working to get pandemic relief for existing businesses, it was quite a change. But accessing capital, it is still a priority here at the SBDC. We will continue to bring back our, on this particular program, bring guest speakers with programs to assist small businesses in accessing capital and to find the cheapest, most available capital for them to start, grow, expand, or even transition from their particular business. We're finding that locally, I'm being told, workforce issues may have eased, but costs still remain and still are increasing. So whereas maybe in 2024, it is easier to find an employee, it is still not as easy as we just saw by the most recent surveys. So workforce issues might have eased, but still the cost associated with bringing in those particular parties are different. Other costs are a problem and remain to be a problem. So, and as far as other costs, we are talking about a lot of things such as supply chain issues that now are happening because of different reasons, because of shipping issues caused by wars and going on around the globe. And with the inflation, but costs continue to be a problem. In certain areas, we're seeing areas where costs are going to even increase more. We've talked on this program about trying to do more with some businesses that are affected more than others. Mom and pop restaurants, mom and pop food and beverage businesses. And by mom and pop, I use the term loosely, but mom and pops just refer to independent businesses owned by operators who are not franchises, they are not chains, and they are not businesses that are larger by nature. So we have chronicled some of the problems that they have, and some of them include cost. With fast food and quick serve restaurants, many of those are actually receiving food that was processed out of state in what we call low minimum wage areas, low minimum wage states. So those costs continue to be a problem and will continue. And with the minimum wage increasing to $20 an hour, it's going to put an extra strain on food businesses to retain and actually keep and hire more employees in those particular segments. So those particular issues are going to face challenges continuing in 2024. We have focused a lot on regulatory challenges that exist. And regulatory challenges are some of the issues that are going on that we've talked about, such as with a filing that is done and the filings that need to be done. But really, one of the big regulatory challenges just is coming in compliance. We find that a lot of businesses are quick to form an LLC. They're quick to actually incorporate. But one of the things that also we find is that they are not notified or they do not know of the regulations that they have in order to keep current. For example, if you incorporate or have an LLC, you need to have regular meetings. You need to have regular filings to keep that entity intact. One of the things that can happen if you don't, and this is a regulatory challenge, if you do not keep your LLC or corporation up to status, hold regular minutes, document those minutes, and have a file that you can produce that your entity is ongoing and is actually something that exists, you could actually be subjected to a lawsuit that can pierce that veil of the LLC and put the liability right back on the business owner. That's a regulatory challenge. We have several other regulatory challenges. Just on our YouTube channel, you can go back and see the new laws that have changed that are facing employers. I believe the second week in January, we had a webinar that went through the state law changes. There are other focus areas that are actually happen where we have challenges in the state of California. One of those is called PAGA. It is an acronym. PAGA is an acronym, and it's an acronym that actually is a lawsuit waiting to happen. So many businesses are actually affected by PAGA. PAGA is the acronym, and you can go in and learn more, and we'll continue to have more on this particular issue. But oftentimes what will happen is businesses who are not aware of the regulatory issues that they face may make very simple mistakes that make them subject to a lawsuit. And this is a class action lawsuit that starts off many times as a pizza party and grows into actually a lawsuit that is settled and actually results in the employees receiving some of the award, but the bulk of the award oftentimes will go to the state of California and also to attorneys who handle that particular case. So these are all issues that affect jobs in California. They affect employers, and they are regulatory challenges that continue to exist. We focused and touched a little bit on the economy, on how it can still affect businesses. We'll continue to bring you throughout the year news on the economy where you can actually get the current economic information and how it's going to affect your business. We also have other issues and other challenges that are happening in other industries. So in other industries, we had talked a little bit about the small independent segment of the food and beverage business, but other industries face challenges as well. You know, a lot of people like to focus on how well their business is doing, how great the business is doing, but oftentimes we fail to neglect how our industry is doing. And oftentimes industries in whole create challenges for individual businesses in that particular industry. But some of the challenges that we might have in 2024 affect many of our industries. On a big scale, we see here in Kern County, we see agriculture affected by water. We see oil companies that are affected by regulatory and other issues. And these affect downstream small businesses. There's a ton of small businesses that are affected by our main tourist drivers. And tourism is the driver in Inyo and Mono County, whereas in Kern County, oftentimes it is these other big industries, such as, the medical industry, also, warehousing, and also logistics. So the last item is one that is really kind of interesting because it's on artificial intelligence and it remains, I like to say, in the room. This is going to be a huge problem and a huge issue and a huge opportunity. I want to stress that while we're focusing on issues and potential problems right now, there are opportunities, and we're going to talk about a little bit about opportunities. But AI remains one of them. One of the biggest businesses that have grown over the last 30 years, a huge tech business, is NVIDIA. And NVIDIA actually is run by a gentleman by the name of Jensen Huang. And for 30 years, he started a business that really didn't even have an industry at the time, which started off as video cards 30 years ago, before there was a video game industry, and actually taken the risk and challenges to build literally a $1 trillion business. One of the best quotes, and he knows a little bit about AI because his business grew so phenomenally last year, was the star of the stock market in 2023. And NVIDIA continues to be so based on what they're doing in AI. And what are they doing? They're building basically chips that are running supercomputers that are running AI systems for just a ton of businesses around the world. And before that, it was, Bitcoin and others that were used to mine Bitcoin. So artificial intelligence on those areas are making this man really rich. And the quote that he came out with about AI was, AI might not take your job, but AI will go and it might not take your business. So AI might not take your job, it might not take your business, but what it may do is it might find somebody who knows and is using AI successfully that'll go into that job, and somebody who is successful go into that business or take your customers. So AI is going to be an incredible resource that we continue to look at moving forward. Well, now I'm not going to actually do a formal poll today, so let's do a state of the small business pop quiz. So in identifying this is a $115 billion industry. And it has found some huge change recently. It's in a market where 62% of those under the age of 35 use their product, but it was 72% 20 years ago. 80% still don't use the product as it's intended. And in their segment at Whole Foods, this is their number one seller. So to end the suspense, it's beer. Yes, it's beer. And more specifically, it's Athletic Brewing's non-alcoholic beer. Now, I don't know how many of you have heard about Athletic Brewing or sampled their wares, but Athletic Brewing started off a few years ago, basically 5, 6, 7 years ago, as a small business raising $3 million in a $115 billion industry, in a product that 80% don't use as intended. 80% of the people who use non-alcoholic beer right now are those that still drink alcohol. They're in a market where 62% of individuals under the age of 35 are using their product much less than they did in 2004. So this is really showing us that there's really opportunity in a lot of different areas where we never thought of before. So what did Athletic Brewing Company do? Athletic Brewing Company took a process and said, I want to start a new beer. I'm not happy with the non-alcoholic selections, and maybe there is a new process to find this out. So when they were founded, an individual who was actually left a very nice day job working as a hedge fund. He was a day trader. And what they did was they said, let's come up and let's find a brewer who can brew a great non-alcoholic beer. Now, craft beers have been doing great in this country, but really, not too many craft beer people really want to start a brew that is non-alcoholic. It's less than 1% of the market. It is such a small percent of everything that they do. So what did they do? They got a $3 million loan and got started, actually investment of $3 million. They actually went out and started to brew beer, and they brewed it differently. The secret in their product isn't by doing it the old-fashioned way. The old-fashioned way was to brew beer, traditionally how it was brewed, with alcohol, and then remove the alcohol. They said, let's try things differently. Let's try using different techniques. Let's try using innovation and actually ferment a beer without alcohol so we don't have alcohol to take out. And apparently it's working. It's a product that now is in basically many of the Whole Foods, and it is their number one selling beer, not their number one selling non-alcoholic beer. So really a huge change that has been coming, and it has been coming down the pike. I haven't tried an athletic brew. I want to, just because of the great things that I'd heard about it and read about it, and the innovative change that it's making in a specific industry. One that really, when you sit back and think about, there's little chance to do. But what it is showing us the opportunities that are available. You know, and maybe if we look at a SWOT analysis, you know, we look at our internal factors and we want to look at our strengths internally, and externally, we want to look at our opportunities. Internally, we might want to look at our weaknesses, and outside, we might want to look at our threats. And this is a great opportunity to do so at the beginning of a particular year. I was explaining today, as we're really excited here at the SBDC, we have some new students starting with this term. And one of the ways that we like to accentuate their strengths is to have them take the strength finders. And I've talked about strength finders before. It's a $20 book. And really, there's a test and an assessment. 45 minutes later, you know what your 5 strengths are. Now, why, as an employer, would I want to know the 5 strengths of my employees? Yeah, because I might want to manage them based on the strengths rather than their weaknesses. And also, as a business owner, I might want to know the strengths of my businesses internally and also know my weaknesses. But really, what I want to focus on is the opportunities. And there are some threats, and we had talked about it, the economy, and we talked about issues and regulations. Those are all threats. But really, I want to talk about opportunities, and I want to talk about those that have had opportunities and have made the best of them. And some of those people are people in Inyo, Mono, and also here in Kern County. And let's start at the top of the county. Let's stop at the top of our 3-county region, and let's go to June Lake, and let's meet Don and Lynn Morton. And Don and Lynn Morton are a couple in June Lake, California, as I mentioned. They came to the SBDC with an issue. They wanted to actually purchase a rather unique parcel in June Lake around 2015. Now, back then, we were still in many parts of the country coming out of the Great Recession. There were some issues with their particular parcel that didn't make it appeal to any particular banks. Multiple parcels, raw land. Ooh, boy, I'll tell you. You have to talk to our friends over at SynCal Business Financial Group if you really want to do anything with raw land, because purchasing land is very difficult from a lender's perspective. So we sat down and we looked at the needs, and we looked at the longer term plan, and the Mortons were able to purchase this location where their businesses are located now. Lynn runs the Sierra Crest Realty, and together they run June Lake Accommodations, a vacation rental property. And June Lake is located about 15 miles north of Mammoth Lakes. Wonderful vacation destination. Heard a lot of people, once they hear about their story, that have said, oh yes, our family used to vacation in June Lake. So one of the things is what really, I think, really separates people on their successes, also what they do for their community and what they bring back. The Mortons, upon some assistance from the SBDC, and they were able to put together a plan and to find a unique alternative lender to provide them and get their foot in the door on the property. Again, it was 3 separate parcels of land and these buildings on it. But there were a couple of other buildings, and they were able to provide space and opportunity to other businesses. So now they actually have helped create, a few other businesses from some of the properties on this particular parcel. You see their old buildings down there, and those are the old ones. I sat in there with Don back in 2019 while about a 6.1 earthquake went off about 60 miles away. And trust me, that building shook. But they are now providing and looking to knock out those particular buildings and actually offer new building opportunities and office space for others while they put those buildings in. But an innovative thing that they're doing is they're creating workforce housing. And on a project that they hope to break ground on later this year, innovative workforce housing is essentially an apartment that is rented for at probably low to the median price of existing apartments, but it's only for those that are working in the communities because they face an acute housing shortage. And really, how can businesses survive if they don't have employees? And if their employees are located far away, how do you do that? Now, sure, could he make more money? Could Lynn and Don make more money by actually making condos and renting them out in their accommodations business? I think they can. But really seeing a need that affects not only their business, but also other businesses by providing workforce housing. And workforce housing, is becoming an issue everywhere, but it has long been a problem in the Eastern Sierra. Going all the way down into Inyo County and into Mammoth Lakes, and from Mammoth Lakes in Mono County into Bishop. And for years, the Mammoth Mountain has actually bused people who lived in Inyo County up to work into the Mammoth ski resort area. So this is really a kind of a groundbreaking, innovative thing, and it's a great success as far as we're concerned. Which brings us to another great project, and that is, boy, you hear me talking a lot about, and last week our focus continued to be on buying and selling a business, transitioning. So if you're going to work with people to start a business, oftentimes the best way to start a business is by buying a business. And last year we were fortunate enough to meet Emma Gasman, and she came to the SBDC with an opportunity to purchase the Sierra Mountain Center. Now, the Sierra Mountain Center is a unique tourism venture for sure. And it was really founded by an icon of the Sierra Nevadas several decades ago, a gentleman by the name of S.P. Parker. It is a business that is renowned around not only the United States, but the globe for their accredited guided mountaineering tours. So that could be everything on hikes, maybe hikes up to Mount Whitney, to ice capades, other areas, and also mountaineering and mountain climbing opportunities. So it was great that Ms. Gasman had the opportunity to do this. And she had the background too, because she actually started working as a program director. And she was passionate about making the marvels of the mountains accessible to individuals of any skill level. Guided trips are the way to go, especially when you're going up that high. So she grew up backpacking and skiing, and really that began her journey into rock climbing and tourism, and ready to move forward into a particular rich legacy. So Emma was able to actually purchase the building, actually keep also some employees and independent contractors who lead guided tours. But it is really an inspiring business. And look at that office. Oh, man. I don't know anybody that's got a better office than that right there. So really some great stories and great things that happen, and happen also from, when you go meet with a lender on her particular business, it's like, yeah, she's got collateral, she's got ice picks and crampons. And not a lot of people have used an ice pick or a crampon. She might have been using one later that day, where she's photographed. But it's really a kind of unique situation to where everybody wins in this particular situation. The customers, the employees, the entrepreneur, the entrepreneurial spirit. And I might add one thing. Of these particular businesses, which are accredited mountaineering businesses across the country, there's not another one that is owned solely by a female. Emma is the first woman-owned business, 100% owned business owner of this type of business anywhere. What a great tradition she is starting out on and growing. So another one, reaching into Kern County now. Another great story that we have is we've had a business grow out of the garage that was started by Ivan and Gabriela Ayala 15 years ago in Tehachapi. And what a great business. A manufacturing business out of the garage that is now into a large manufacturing facility in Bakersfield. The manufacturing business has grown tremendously, and if Maureen can assist me on this, I think it is best served with a video to explain how successful the Ayalas have been and what they have done.
I started from my home, and I would call upon a few welders or hands whenever I had a job where I needed some help. I was outsourcing a lot of the small fabrication that would fall in our lap because we didn't have no equipment, no tooling. I was looking for a shop at that point, and I figured there's no way I could own. I'm still small. Right thereafter, I started talking with the SBDC. We were able to find a way where I was going to be able to buy my first building. This door had magically opened. We flew out to a large trade show where we went and looked at equipment. And we were surprised how a lot of people were willing to work with people that were as small as we were. Came back to Bakersfield with a lot of dreams, and we found out that we were going to be able to finance some of the equipment not necessarily available to us, to a company of our size. So now we weren't just an installer, we had just now become a fabricator, and we're able to open up new markets. So a lot of the projects that we take on are either structural, sheet metal, or process piping, whether it's for food production, oil, gas, steam, water. And we're only capable of taking on larger projects due to the fact that we've continued to grow the business. If you don't have the right people, the right mentors, it will take you a tremendous amount of time for you to figure this out on your own. The minute we reached out to the SBDC, that's when we've seen the growth. That's when we started hiring more employees. That's where we started acquiring more equipment. That's when we started buying our own facilities. And that's where we've seen the true growth and the true potential in our dream. Go out and look for your local SBDC representative. Talk to them. Let them know what your plans are, what your aspirations are, where you're at, whether you're in the beginning stages of your business, whether you're planning to open up a business, or whether you've been running your business on your own will like I did for many years. They were there for me then, they're there for me now. So I suggest that you do yourself a favor and you reach out.
It is a great story, and really one that is really the great American dream, and how somebody can start a business out of their garage and grow it exponentially into the size it is now. Really, the video says it best. So lastly, you know, this is just a great story as well. And a great story that started back when we were partying, still back in 2019. And it was really along the lines of starting the business just before the pandemic. And Stephanie Chavez of Sweet Bites and Ice, and here's a picture of her with her parents, started a business that started out of a food truck, a actual mobile vending business. And she came to us from the SBA website, and we were able to start working with her in 2019. And then what happens? Oh, a little thing called a pandemic in March of 2020, but it did not slow her down. It did not deter her. And she continued on. And continuing on, she did. And so in starting in June of 2020 out of a food truck, and they sell a variety of desserts, everything from ice cream to funnel cakes. Yeah, wonderful stuff. I recommend the milkshake, maybe let's say the cheesecake milkshake that might have a whole slice of cheesecake in it. Phenomenal desserts all around. She worked with her SBDC consultant, Jim Keeler, and worked with her since 2019, did a very good job of actually purchasing the mobile truck, and actually, after a nationwide search, found one in Texas, expanded into a commercial kitchen where they provide all the batters and other food prep. And really, the amount of money and actually the amount of work and effort it takes, having worked with so many mobile food vendors and so many food trucks, it was really enlightening to find, a story like this come out, not only out of the pandemic, but also do the tremendous amount of volumes that they would do. The amount of food that they can put through a truck was incredible. And it was so incredible, and their response, led by maybe an Instagram page that has over 30,000 contacts, likes, whatever. But over 30,000 on Instagram. And just incredible to where they are now expanding into a brick and mortar location. And it's expected to open very soon in the Maya Cinemas just south of downtown Bakersfield, in the movie complex, in that new center on California Avenue. And with that, kind of shows a chronology of how she started and grew this particular business. Now, don't hold me to those prices, because this is a photo from last summer, and we all know a little bit, and I've talked a little bit about today about inflation. So basically, in 2020, they created a business plan, set up a legal entity in the food truck. They started to utilize social media with Instagram and Facebook, used ads, and had a certified kitchen to do their prep, and hired employees. And then they invested in their business even more in 2021. The live plan, you might have heard me talk about our resource tool, a live plan. It's a remarkable tool. Stephanie really took it to the next degree. A wonderful business plan, using it for managerial purposes, but also when we come around now, as she continues to grow in 2022, in 2023, moving into this business, and which has hired 12 new full-time employees. I believe that is going up, and 2 part-times to bring the employment total to 30, including her and her parents. And just a wonderful story, and continuing to grow and to continue to work in providing a great value and a great service, and soon to a brick and mortar location. So congratulations to Stephanie and her parents. Many of you saw or have seen this particular chart before, and I love this chart because what this is this represents the survival rates of establishments. Now, I only threw the one up that went through 2015, and in March the new statistics will be up, and I can carry this all the way out to 2024, as we have it out to 2023 now. But a lot of things, what this does is it shows the number of businesses that survive. There's a lot of statistics out there, and I do not agree with them. You'll hear people say, oh, in 2 years, 50% of the businesses fail. Well, that's not true. In 2 years, 20% of the businesses close down. Is it a failure because they have closed? Well, in many cases, yes, but not in all cases. Some people learn that they do not want to continue in that particular line of work, and they might sell the business. So there are a lot of different ways that a survival rate is established. But when you start hearing stats thrown around, here's the real stats. And let's just go off of even going back even to 1994, as these haven't changed much. And actually, let's pull a year out of here. Let's pull 2005. So if you see that, the famous 80-20 rule holds true, it holds true that in the second year, that 20% of the businesses have not survived, but 80% have. And you go down after the 5th year and still 52%, still about half of the businesses. And that number has gone up over time. As we see over 5 years, in 2011, it's up to 56%. So what you see is that by the 20 years, you start a business right now, the chances of you're going to be in business in 20 years, ironically, is 20%. So still, 4 out of 5 businesses are gone by 20 years, but generally looking at the life cycle of the business, that holds true. So one of the other things that we saw that is startling was the number of business starts that has continued through the pandemic. We just shared a story of a business that started just before the pandemic, did not deter them. They started and went through as the pandemic had, our stay-at-home enforced and other actions. But really, it showed us one thing. It showed us that you can start a business in the worst time and continue. And also, that has continued to grow from 2020 as more and more people seek entrepreneurship. Here at the SBDC, we don't have all the answers. There's a lot of questions out there. I guess one of them will be decided on Sunday. There is a lot of questions out there, but still moving forward, we do and will continue to be here. In short, the state of small business in Kern, Inyo, and Mono counties is strong. There are strong businesses. There are strong business environments in these 3 counties. I can't tell you of a better county I know to start, grow, expand, or even transition out of a business than there is in Kern County. Inyo and Mono County, for what they do in the tourism business and those hospitality sectors, are immeasurable. It's a great time to be in a business. There are challenges, sure. There are opportunities coming, and never stop to look past those opportunities that are available. So we'll be back. I'm going to wrap things up. We're out of time.